All right, listeners, get ready to dive deep into menu engineering. I know you're out there, hungry for knowledge, and today we're serving up a feast of strategic insights that goes way beyond just pretty fonts and fancy layouts.
It's amazing how often people, even seasoned restaurant owners, miss the psychology behind a menu.
You mean like diners think they're choosing freely, but my menu can secretly influence their decisions?
It's not so much about being sneaky as it is about understanding those subtle cues that can make a big difference. It's all about creating a win-win, a delightful experience for your diners, a boost for your bottom line.
Okay, I'm all about that win-win. I've got to admit, when I first heard menu engineering, I pictured like fancy fonts and color schemes. But I've got this stack of articles here, and they're saying it's way more than that.
Absolutely. It's about strategy, data analysis.
Yeah. They keep mentioning this difference between food cost and contribution margin. Now, I feel like I should know this, but remind me.
What's the key difference again?
That's a common stumbling block. Think of it like this. You're crafting an amazing burger.
Right.
The food cost is all those ingredients, the juicy patty, the artisan bun, the freshest toppings, all of that.
Okay, got it.
Contribution margin is where the magic happens. It's that sweet spot, the difference between what that burger costs you to make and what you actually charge for it.
So if I'm pricing my burger just to cover the cost of the ingredients, I'm missing out on maximizing my profit, really.
Exactly. And that's where menu engineering comes in. It helps you identify those high contribution margin rock stars on your menu and then position them strategically so they really shine. Okay, so how do we do that? Is it as simple as slapping the highest price tag on everything, calling it a day?
Not quite. It's about understanding how customers interact with your menu. Have you ever heard of prime real estate on a menu?
Like beachfront property, but on my menu.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
You've got it. Studies show that the top right corner of your menu, that's prime real estate. That's where most diners tend to look first. You want to showcase a high contribution margin item that's also a customer favorite in that spot.
So it's more than just taking my most expensive dish and sticking it in that top right corner, right?
Right. You want something that's both delicious and profitable. Remember those menu categories we talked about earlier? Stars, plow horses, puzzles, and dogs. Yeah. Those are great. Okay, so how do those categories actually help me? How do I look at my menu and say, okay, this dish is a star, this one's a plow horse?
It all comes down to data. You've got to analyze your sales data and your contribution margin. Your stars, those are your best sellers, the dishes everyone loves, and they also bring in the big bucks, high contribution margin.
Okay, so high popularity and high profit margin. Got it.
Yeah.
What about those plow horses?
Your workhorses. They're popular, definitely customer favorites, but their contribution margin might be a bit lower.
So they're selling well, but maybe not bringing in as much profit per dish.
Exactly. Now, for your hidden gems, the puzzles, these are the dishes with the high profit margin, but for some reason, they're just not getting the attention they deserve.
So maybe they need a little boost, like a better description, or maybe they're just lost in the middle of the menu somewhere.
You got it. Now, let's talk about those dogs. These are the dishes with low sales and a low profit margin.
Time to take them out back.
Not necessarily. Don't rush to remove them just yet. Sometimes a dog just needs a little makeover.
Okay, so like maybe a new recipe, better ingredients, or even just a more appealing name or description?
Now you're getting it. Sometimes even the smallest change can make all the difference. Maybe a new ingredient, a catchier name, or even just moving it to a different section of the menu. It's about experimenting and seeing what works.
It's like giving those dishes a second chance to shine. Okay, so once I've analyzed my menu, I've got my stars, my plow horses, my puzzles, and yes, even my dogs. What's next? What do I do with all this information?
That's where the real fun begins. We get to play with design and use some psychology to guide our diners' eyes to those star dishes.
Ooh, psychology. Now you're speaking my language.
Wow.
Tell me more about these psychological tricks.
Think about it. Our eyes naturally gravitate towards certain areas on a page, and menus are no different. We've already talked about that prime real estate in the top right corner, but there's also something called the golden triangle.
Okay, stop right there. The golden triangle that sounds mysterious and intriguing.
Think of it like this. When people look at your menu, their eyes tend to scan in a triangular pattern, starting at the center, then up to the top right corner, and then down to the bottom right. That's your golden triangle. It's where you want to place those high-profit, visually appealing dishes.
Makes sense. We're strategically placing our star players in the spotlight.
Exactly. And just like you'd use lighting on a stage to highlight the main actors, we can use design elements to make certain dishes stand out on the menu. Think boxes, borders, Maybe even some subtle shading, anything to draw the eye and make those dishes pop.
So, we're creating a visual journey for our guests.
And just like any good journey, you want it to be smooth and enjoyable. So that means clear sections, easy to read fonts, enticing descriptions that make them crave those dishes.
So no more of those menus with tiny fonts and cluttered layouts.
Let those dishes breathe. White space is your friend. It adds elegance, makes the menu easier to digest, and prevents that feeling of being overwhelmed.
It sounds like the design aspect of menu engineering is less about being flashy and more about being strategic and clear.
Exactly. It should complement the dining experience, not overpower it. We want to entice our diners, guide them to those star dishes, and ultimately leave them feeling satisfied with their choices.
Wow. It's amazing how much thought goes into what seems like such a simple thing, a menu.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest, with all this talk of data analysis and strategic design, it can feel a bit overwhelming, especially for someone who's just starting out with menu engineering. Is there a shortcut, a secret weapon that can simplify this process?
You're in luck. Remember those menu engineering software options we mentioned earlier? They're not just for the big guys. There are options out there designed to make this process accessible and, dare I say, fun for everyone.
Okay, did you say fun? Now I'm really listening. Tell me more about how tech can help.
Imagine having a digital menu consultant by your side, crunching those sales numbers, calculating contribution margins, even suggesting optimal pricing strategies based on your costs and customer data.
So instead of spending hours hunched over spreadsheets, I can let the software do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. And many of them even offer drag-and-drop menu design templates, so you can easily experiment with different layouts and see how those changes might impact your bottom line, all in real time.
That sounds like a game changer, especially for visual learners like me. Seeing those potential profits visualized must be incredibly motivating.
It takes the guesswork out of the equation, gives you data-driven insights, and empowers you to make smarter decisions for your menu and ultimately your business. And the best part, it's not just about boosting profits. There's so much more to it than that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from psychology to profit margins to even software that can help us out. But you mentioned there's even more to this menu engineering thing, like these ripple effects.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's about the whole dining experience. Imagine your diners, they open the menu, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, they're excited by what they see. They find it easy to navigate, maybe even a little fun. They feel good about their choices.
And if they feel good, they're probably going to enjoy their meal even more.
Exactly. And happy diners are more likely to come back, tell their friends, maybe even be more adventurous next time and try something new on the menu.
So menu engineering, it's not just about a single transaction. It's about building that loyal customer base.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned something about how this even impacts the kitchen staff.
Absolutely. When you're promoting those high-profit, popular dishes, your kitchen naturally becomes more efficient. They're prepping those ingredients more often, the flow improves, and that can lead to less waste, lower inventory costs, all those good things.
So it's like this chain reaction, this positive effect on the entire restaurant ecosystem. Amazing.
And don't forget sustainability. By focusing on in-season ingredients and maybe adjusting portion sizes, you can reduce waste and minimize your environmental impact.
Okay, so much to think about. But before we wrap things up, I have to ask, what about those common mistakes? What should people watch out for when they're tackling menu engineering?
One of the biggest pitfalls is trying to be everything to everyone. You don't need a menu that's a mile long. Focus on your strengths, those dishes that really shine, and let go of the rest.
So quality over quantity when it comes to menu items.
Absolutely. And another common mistake is treating your menu like it's set in stone. The restaurant world is constantly changing, tastes evolve, new trends pop up, ingredient costs fluctuate.
You gotta stay flexible.
Exactly. Regularly review your menu, analyze the data, get feedback from your customers and your staff.
It's an ongoing conversation, not a one-time thing. This has been an incredible deep dive. So much to think about, so many ways to improve.
It really is.
So listeners, here's my final thought for you. Take a look at your menu, but don't just see a list of dishes. See it as a powerful tool. A tool that can boost your profits, elevate your customer's experience, even help you become more sustainable. What changes can you make, even small ones, to turn your menu into a masterpiece? That's it for this deep dive. Until next time, happy engineering.